Yesterday, I was cleaning. In the Japanese New Year's tradition, one tries to meet the new year with things in order. Now, I love being in people's homes where everything is in order, and I love working in those spaces as well, but as anyone who's been in my office in the last couple of years will tell you, that is not the life I've been living for a while. So yesterday, the practice of setting things to rights to greet the new year has become a very important practice for me, and I was engaged deeply in it in this particular day. I was shaking off a few unfinished projects, and one was to attach some beautiful sheets of hand-pressed Japanese paper to some new acrylic covers for the lights in my kitchen, because I liked the idea that the light would come down through this paper and would light my way throughout the year. I had the acrylic sheets all laid out on my bathroom floor. Now, I live in a very small house. About a third of this house is this one bathroom, for no apparent reason that I've ever been able to figure out. But so it is the only good flat surface for doing such projects in my home. I had them laid out there, and then I was doing a few other things. I was trying to find the closing metaphor for this homily, which was just escaping me no matter how I thought of it. And I was rushing around because I had made the foolish decision to be the place where my son and his friends would spend New Year's Eve last night. And there were a few things that needed to happen as a result of that. So there I was. I had a piece of an object that needed to be returned to the bathroom in my hand. Time was running short. I ran into the bathroom and I hit that acrylic sheet. And then, suddenly, I was staring at the ceiling, wondering what had happened. Now, the night before, Liam and I had a gift from my son-in-law, who works at the Berkeley Rep. He had given us tickets to 946, the amazing story of Adolphus Tibbs, which I would highly recommend to anyone who has time to see it. And there was one of those scenes in that particular play where a character dies and everyone freezes, and that character gets up to look at themselves where they were. And I thought to myself, oh, is that what I'm doing? But it wasn't. And luckily, I'd had a good conversation with Kaleo earlier in the week about shimmering Qigong, and I had been doing a lot of work on yoga and breathing in 2016. So I began to tentatively move and to breathe, and I realized that I had a lot more hurts than I would have had in death, so I began to breathe again, and eventually get up, and eventually go back to getting things ready to have 13 teenagers in your home for 5 hours. And I got those panels off the floor and up in the ceiling where they belonged. I had, in the process of that fall, found the metaphor I had been looking for. Now, if the sermon for today was being written by popular opinion, the bottom line would be something like this. The good news for many is that 2016 is gone. The bad news for many is that 2017 is here. To be clear, 2016 was a good year for many, and 2017 will be a good year for many. There were children born, rededicated for here on Christmas Eve. There were relationships forged. There were new opportunities for meaningful engagement in life, and all of that happened in the year just past. And yet, for many, 2016 was the year that life brought us up short, and we suddenly found ourselves lying on our backs, looking at the ceiling, and wondering what had happened. We were there in a way that we didn't anticipate, and we weren't quite sure what was broken and what was just really bruised. Interestingly, after the teenagers all came and the bonfire was reasonable and the poppets weren't going off with the same frequency they were at the beginning of the party, I started to shake. The physical trauma to having had a very hard fall overcame me, and my body finally caught up, and because I have now studied this and know, I allowed myself to do that. I took that time, I rested as well as I could, and I woke up today feeling not nearly as sore as I thought I would. Being in community, as I said before, is the #1 reason that people come into this congregation. It allows us to be part of something larger than ourselves. And in 2016, and I believe in 2017, we need to remember that being in this community is not just about being in a social club where people read the right books. It is about binding our lives. That is what the word religion means, binding our lives to the work of creating a world where people are valued and where we find the power of unity together. We are not, in fact, lying on our back, immobilized. We are up and moving, and in fact, the people who have been least able to turn away from the events we now face are those already living in the streets or hiding parts of their identity, and they are moving as well, and they need us to be there with them. 2016 and 2017 invites us, yes, to shake off some things, especially false pride, which is one of those 108 earthly desires that the Buddhist tradition tells us we can rid ourselves of at this time. Part of our pride as liberal religionists has been to cast off all tradition and the idea that we need anything larger than ourselves. I believe that we do. And here is actually the message that I would like us to leave with today. Yes, 2016 left us a little bruised, a little stunned, and a little overwhelmed. 2017 requires that we get up, figure out where we are, be present and accounted for, and then figure out those larger truths in our lives that are going to carry us when things get hard in the days to come. I'm standing here today because over the last few years, I have been forced to explore those truths for myself, deeper and deeper and deeper. And it was meditation, it was yoga, and it was a lot of Advil that allows me to be here today. That's the medical part as well. But I want to tell you that I think it's really important for us to figure out all that we have in our arsenal, not just some. I'll tell you that I'm wearing library earrings from the New York Library of Books, because we will not be giving up our search for knowledge and facts and all the things that we need. We need those too. And I'm also wearing ostrich socks, because we cannot afford to bury our heads in the sand. You can see them later. They'll still be on. But we need to shake off cynicism, feigned indifference, and outrage even. We need to move on to the day-to-day faithful work of offering love, resisting despair, being hope for people that need hope, deepening connections, and loving the hell, literally, out of this world, because some people are going to be living in it and already are. Our partner, PICO, which is the parent organization of Cisco, our local organizing group, has called for 20 days of prayer as we prepare for this inauguration. And some of you will say, what good will that be? What it will be is binding ourselves to those larger truths and answering the call of those who will be most affected, who ask us to offer not just what we know, but our willingness to step into the unknowable. So in that spirit, I invite you to join me in the spirit of reflection and meditation as I close this homily with a prayer, which is nothing but a deep ask beyond ourselves. Spirit of life and love, let me be a force for love and unity today. Let my actions serve to unite and not divide, to heal and not to harm, to deepen connection rather than further division. Let me use my voice to amplify the wisdom of those we too often fail to hear. This is my deep ask today. And let this community of hope, of memory, and of resistance be strong in this year to come, 2017. May we be the ones to make it so. When you came in today, you were given a cord. And if you can't find it, there are others in the back that you can get. But I'm going to invite you to think about what it is that you most need to be bound to in order to be fully present in this year of 2017. In the Vietnamese Buddhist tradition, there is the tradition of tying a cord of intention on the first day of the year. And I invite you to think about what it is that you will tie yourself that is bigger than just your individual knowledge, as important and critical as that is. What will you bind yourself to? And take a moment and turn to your neighbor without words and tie these cords around each other's wrists. And if you're not ready yet, you can get someone to do this later. But let us bind our intentions in quiet together. We never know what a new year will bring. This year we know that we will need to be resolute in 2017. May these acts be of resolution, and may we remember that we are good and loved and part of the healing of the world.